AfriForum is taking on the Transport Department over the requirement to renew driver's licenses every 5 years. I said I was a little earlier. Obviously, that was incorrect. The lobby group says regulations say that the licenses are valid indefinitely, which makes the requirement to renew a contradiction. For more on this now, I'm joined by AfriForum's campaign officer, Rainer Divenacher, who joins us virtually. Rainer, thank you so much for your time. Now, this is obviously a story that's going to get a lot of people's attention because the amount of conversations that revolve around the question of, have you been able to get your licenses renewed, over dinner parties that we are now able to have, this is something that affects people's day-to-day lives, and it really has had a massive impact on so many. What made AfriForum decide the courts is where we need to take this battle?
Good evening, Marcel. Good evening to the viewers, and thank you so much for having me on the show. Yes, we've been receiving numerous complaints from our more than 300,000 donating members and from members of the general public that it's simply becoming impossible to renew a driver's license. The NATIS system is still not functioning properly 15 years after its release. And that's why we decided to file this legal application. We actually gave our lawyers we gave them the order, I could say, to look into finding a solution for these people who are so frustrated with the standard of service delivery at the Department of Transport. And they actually formulated a fascinating and an astonishing legal opinion that the legislation isn't sufficient for the requirement to renew licenses every 5 years. And the reason we say this is because Article 75 of the Road Traffic Act does not, according to our argument, give the minister the powers to mandate this 5-year license renewal period. Secondly, there's an internal contradiction in the legislation. So the provisions of the Road Traffic Act itself states that drivers' licenses are valid indefinitely, and then the minister used his powers to then put a regulation in place that mandates the 5-year license renewal period. And we say that obviously the provisions are superior to the regulations. And then in the third place, this is then unconstitutional because a reasonable person should understand what is expected of him or her. And due to this contradiction, this is not the case at the moment. Those are the legal grounds, and the practical grounds are that it's, like you said, it's becoming almost impossible for people to renew their licenses, and therefore it's irrational to mandate this 5-year license renewal period. And a lot of countries, we also stress this in our legal application, that a lot of countries opt for much longer periods of time between the renewal of licenses. Some countries even have licenses that are valid indefinitely. We think obviously immediately of the time that we come out of, which of course involves the pandemic. And we had this almost comical set of circumstances where licenses kept on being extended, or there was a grace period that kept being extended, because then we found out about this machine, and there's only one machine in the country, and this narrative just went on and on. But to be honest, this is an issue, this has been an issue long before we'd ever heard of COVID-19, and now you're telling us that this is actually just about the fine print that we actually weren't aware of, and that the 5 years is a thumbsuck from government. Have you had any indication from government as to how they came to 5 years and how they would defend themselves if they would have to in a court case of this nature? Yes, so like you mentioned, it might just be a thumbsuck. We obviously don't know this. We just know that the minister used his powers to put these regulations in place, mandating the 5-year license renewal period. So we know that the Department of Transport, they are opposing our case. And then we'll see what the court has to say. But like I said, Marcel, I gave you the reasons. We feel very confident that we'll be able to win this court case, and that it will really give people some necessary breathing space that are finding it very difficult to renew their licenses. A lot of times people took all the necessary precautions, or they followed the department's laws and rules. They renewed their licenses on time, and due to the department's failures, like you mentioned, the license printer being broken, some of these people have been punished by the department wrongfully because they did everything that they needed to do, and the department failed to provide the service. And the fact that there are legal grounds as well just makes our application that much stronger.
So are you looking to put together a class action of sort? Because you have also made a request to people who have been fined for not having valid driver's license to get in contact with you. According to your numbers, in May alone, over 40,000 people were fined for not having their valid driver's license cards. This is actually a massive payday for government as well. Not just the fines, but also the renewal of these driver's licenses don't come cheap either. So this is not going to be an easy fight. Why is it important for you to get in touch with as many South Africans who have been caught out without updated licenses, even though they've tried many times to do so?
Yeah, Marcel, the reason we are asking members of the public to contact us and to share their stories with us is simply, like I mentioned, it adds credence to our practical grounds, you know. The fact that it's irrational to mandate this 5-year license renewal period simply because the department is unable to provide this service. And those are just the practical grounds. Then we mentioned the legal grounds. So yeah, if we hear from people, from members of the public, it will make our case that much stronger. And that's why we're really appealing to members of the public to contact us and to share their stories with us, because it will really help our case. It's not a class action case, but it will help us in our arguments.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. AfriForum's campaign officer, Rainer Duvenage, joining us there virtually from Pretoria. And I'm sure it's not the last we'll hear about this court case. It will certainly get tongues wagging.